Hi, I'm a recovering addict named Steve. This is On Life's Terms adaptation of the Narcotics Anonymous book, Sponsorship. Note to the listener, this book frequently changes from narrative to first-person quotes. When the focus changes, you will hear this tone. This installment is Chapter 2, Part 4. Developing our role as a sponsee. We can take a number of steps to ensure that our relationship with our sponsor is rewarding and fulfilling. A large part of how much we gain from sponsorship depends on our willingness to be sponsored. When we open our hearts and minds and make a commitment to work with a sponsor, we have the opportunity to learn many new things and new ways of thinking. We discover how to approach life from another's perspective. Often we lose our self-centeredness and become sensitive to our sponsor's needs. We begin to develop trust as we grow within our sponsorship relationship. Many of us also learn how to develop balance in our lives. When I am confused and need guidance, I call my sponsor. His perspective on the issue can be different, and he can help me clear my head with a suggestion or two. I do not profess to have all the answers and experience, so I keep my ego in check by deferring to him. I had 5 years clean, and my sponsor at the time had just let me go because I wasn't taking her direction. I didn't trust her. I didn't trust anyone. When I got my current sponsor, I was miserable and empty inside. I hung in there. I didn't use. I did steps with my new sponsor. My sponsor gave me direction to call her every day. I hated it, but I did it. And then it got strange. Something started happening. People started sitting next to me at meetings, and I would talk to them. My phone started ringing. I noticed I was laughing more. I think what happened is that I was forced, okay, maybe directed is a better word, to build the first intimate relationship of my recovery and maybe of my life. The reason I kept having unsatisfying friendships and romantic relationships is because I wouldn't let anyone get close enough to know me. In turn, I was unwilling and unable to get to know myself. Working closely with a sponsor and learning to trust her has made a huge difference in my life. Every time I speak with my sponsor, I always remember to ask how he is doing. At the beginning of the relationship, I never asked. Then it was usually the last thing I asked him before hanging up. Now when he says, "How are you doing?" I will share what's going on and then say, "And how are you?" Yes, recovery is possible. When we choose a sponsor, we are not hiring a professional to teach, analyze, treat, or save us. Our sponsor is simply sharing his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Ultimately, we are responsible for our own recovery. Having a sponsor is more than just lip service. Being a sponsee is an action. We must do the footwork. And to do that footwork, we must reach out. Seeking that individual support from another recovering addict helps us realize that we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could do alone. Having a sponsor is a reminder of my responsibility to myself to move forward in the steps. By sharing this process with my sponsor, I have a witness to how much or how little work I am doing and how quickly or slowly I am moving forward with my step work. In this way, my relationship with my sponsor keeps me honest about my progress in recovery. It took me a long time to be able to tell therapy from sponsorship. Top 4 differences for me. Sponsorship doesn't cost money. No one ever asked for proof of payment in an NA meeting. I can't call my therapist every day. My sponsor never told me that time was up when I was crying. When I was new, I would always call my sponsor and ask her to tell me what to do about situations. She would always tell me to pray. I remember pleading with her to give me direction, orders, really, but she never would. "I'm your sponsor," she would say, "not your higher power. If you don't know what to do, just wait." At the time, that used to really frustrate me, but now I can see that she didn't want to take on responsibility that belonged to me. Now I do the same thing with my own sponsees. Whether we are new to the program or we have long-term clean time, communication plays a vital role in a working sponsor-sponsee relationship. Many of the principles that we learn when we are new about how the NA program works are the same for the long-time member. We have to walk through our fear, reach out, and begin to trust. If our sponsor asks us to call on a regular basis, we need to make the effort to do so. If we have the desire to use, we should call our sponsor and tell on ourselves. By sharing honestly with and listening to our sponsor, we often can learn how to take directions as well as risks. I moved around so much when I was a kid that I missed out on having a best friend for very long. When I finally arrived to NA and got a sponsor, as it was suggested that I do, I felt like I picked my first best friend. We were all pretty young in recovery back then, so sponsorship was very much a two-way street. I remember how kind my sponsor was and how she listened with such patience and a knowing heart. I knew she knew. That's the empathy. She was most likely the first person I had truly let into my world. Sharing my most intimate thoughts and secrets with her, I felt my first connection to being a human being. I just kept relapsing. The last time I called my sponsor and told him I was using, he said he was sorry to hear it, and he told me that jails, institutions, and death didn't necessarily come in that order, and wished me luck. That last run was the worst experience of all. When I came back, I understood what the gift of desperation meant. I knew I would die if I wasn't willing to do what my sponsor told me to do. In a sense, I turned my will and my life over to him and this program until I found my own higher power. Desperation brought about the surrender I needed to follow my sponsor's suggestions and to make this program my new way of life. I never thought that I would have to tell anyone about the things I did, felt, or thought. I suffered a lot, selecting the things I would share with my sponsor. One day, I managed to tell her the terrible things I thought of my husband, that he would get involved with a lot of women, even though he was married to me, and other things. After telling her all this, I realized that it was all my paranoia. Since that experience of trusting my sponsor, it has been easier for me today. I can't go too long without contacting her because I suffer. My best experience was to share my first step. My confidence has increased, and today I live much more happily. If our sponsor suggests that we attend more meetings, read NA literature on a regular basis, or begin to write an inventory, we need to make the effort to do so. We do not want to tell the addict we ask for help how to help us. When we reach out for help, we need to remain teachable. I've always been reluctant to call other people in recovery, even to this day. However, my sponsor would not progress in the steps with me until I had called at least 5 other people whose recovery I admired and asked about recovery. Making those calls has helped me get a better perspective of my life. I am working a program that includes the help and input of others. At one point in my recovery, I was seriously giving relapse some thought. I had the vision of the face of an addict whom I admired. My thoughts then became focused on all of my new associations, and thoughts of using disappeared. For much of my recovery, I was not willing to follow a sponsor's direction or anyone else's, until the agony and loneliness of doing things my own way was so great that I had no choice if I wanted to stay clean. Even then, I didn't truly believe anyone else had such great ideas either. Over time, as my life has improved through being open to direction more and more often, I have found that almost anyone can give me better direction than I can give myself. There may be times when our sponsor will not be available when we need help. Many of us have found it necessary to develop a network of people in the program to whom we can turn for support in addition to our sponsor. In some communities, it is a common practice to look to other members linked to us through sponsorship for this kind of support. Getting to know the other members who are also sponsored by our sponsor can offer us a safety net. If we cannot reach our sponsor, we can always call on someone else in our sponsorship network. In some places, this network is referred to as a sponsorship family. In other places, it is a sponsorship line or tree. Regardless of the terminology, for some members, being part of such a network is important and may give them a sense of security and of belonging to something greater than themselves. In my area, there are very few women who have women sponsors, and I had to go to another city where the sponsorship family is the primary form of sponsorship. I only wanted to work the steps with my sponsor and get direction from her, instead of all the compulsory socializing and long-distance traveling required in most of the local sponsorship networks. Now I've had a sponsor in another country for almost 2 years and have traveled there to meet her and my sister sponsees. I so much enjoy the companionship and doing stuff together. I've decided to go back there for 6 months and spend time with sister sponsees because I wanted to. I participate in a monthly gathering held by my sponsorship line, so if ever the need arises to get a new sponsor, I already have a group of recovering addicts who I can trust, relate to, care about, and be unafraid to be intimate with. Some members, however, consider sponsorship a very personal relationship and do not want it to include an extended family. For these members, having this kind of built-in network attached to sponsorship can feel restrictive, or that it carries certain obligations with it. My sponsor is part of what they call a sponsorship family here, but that really holds little interest for me. Fortunately, she doesn't care if I attend the functions. It feels a bit like being part of a flock to me, to identify with dozens of women as so-and-so's sponsees or her sponsee's sponsees. I am not even fond of some of the other people in my sponsorship network. I figure I've already had one dysfunctional family. I don't need another. Even if we are happily part of a sponsorship network, we may be tempted at times to compare ourselves to others. It may seem sometimes that our sponsor cares more for some sponsees than others, or we may get an ego boost from feeling like the favorite sponsee. It is important that we recognize that each sponsorship relationship is unique. Each has its own challenges and gifts. We gain nothing from comparing ours with others. I've always felt the need to be the favorite in every situation. I was my sponsor's only sponsee for over a year, and so I was surprised and felt insecure when she took on a new sponsee. Learning to love other people and not be jealous of others has been a long and painful process for me. When I am feeling insecure or uncomfortable, I talk it over with my sponsor. Instead of acting on my feelings, I try to reach out to the other women she sponsors. I have 4 sisters now, and they are all wonderful women. I love them very much, and I am honored to have them in my life. Whether or not we have an extended sponsorship network, we can develop a solid support network so that we do not rely entirely on our sponsor. Building friendships with others in the program and strengthening our relationship with a higher power can help us get through the times when our sponsor is not available to us. My God is with me always. Sometimes my sponsor can't be. The gentle guidance I have received from a sponsor has always paid off. But I've been through periods in my recovery where I did not have a sponsor and utilized close friends in recovery as my sounding boards, and thank God for all of them. Over the years, God has always put a teacher in my life when I have asked. Our recovery can be an amazing journey into self-discovery and self-acceptance. Together with Narcotics Anonymous, our higher power, and the help of our sponsor, many of us can achieve a sense of freedom and a joy of living that we did not believe would ever exist. If we choose as a sponsee, we can absorb the knowledge and wisdom our sponsor has to offer about the NA program. We can learn to live without the use of drugs and come to love and appreciate our new life in recovery. This is the end of Chapter 2, Part 4. Sponsorship continues in Chapter 3, Part 1. I'm a recovering addict named Steve. You can download a full PDF version of sponsorship at this address or by following the link in the description below. To purchase a copy of this book or for free literature and to find a meeting in your area or online, go to na.org. That again is na.org. Please help me to carry the message to the addict who still suffers by liking or commenting on this video and subscribing to this channel. Even more importantly, please share this video with other addicts that we may reach as many as possible. Any feedback or suggestions you might have would be greatly appreciated. I can be reached at onlifestermsvid@gmail.com. Again, that is onlifestermsvid@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, carrying the message, and keeping the promise alive.